Austin Police Department detectives want DNA samples from Kaitlin Armstrong. Can Austin PD prove Kaitlin did it? Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Will prosecutors be able to place 34-year-old Kaitlin Armstrong at the scene of the crime? Will they be able to prove she was there and is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt? Well, one of two ways the cops are trying to build their case is via DNA. Weirdly, the particular story from KXAN News written by Ricky Garcia is only available on Facebook. Garcia writes that a new search warrant has recently been issued by Austin PD, which, by the way, I haven't been able to get a hold of either. Apparently, Garcia has seen it and writes the following about it. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Like, share, leave a comment. If you're not getting notifications, you can unsubscribe, resubscribe, and hit the notification bell. And let's get started. So, according to Ricky Garcia, he writes the following, quote, Austin police issue new search warrant for murder suspect Kaitlin Armstrong. Detectives want DNA samples, as obviously from Kaitlin, to compare DNA collected at the crime scene in Austin where Mariah Wilson was shot dead. In the search warrant, detectives said Wilson suffered possibly multiple gunshot wounds, and this is quite distressing and certainly makes one feel compassion, gives one a kind of a sense of reality of what happened. But she suffered wounds to the head and possibly one to the chest. Detectives said there was a broken tile indicating Mo could have been shot after she hit the ground. It also says that she had a cut on her finger and her chin. That's Mo's injuries. It kind of also raised the question, where did this take place? Now, where do you often have tiles in the home? I think one obvious place is the bathroom. Another obvious place is a kitchen. I don't really think we need to speculate in that area. It was reported as early as May 23rd, around about 12 days after the incident, that Mo's friend Kaitlin Cash found Mo lying in the bathroom unconscious. And obviously it was quite a grisly scene. So if anyone has or finds a link to the search warrant, please post it in the comments. So if DNA is one way to potentially link Armstrong to the scene, ballistics is another, but it's a little bit more indirect than the DNA link. Bear in mind also, Cash performed CPR, and that could interfere with any evidence that they found on the scene. But in terms of the ballistics, the slug has already been forensically linked to the Sig Sauer, and so you can say that the weapon from the home that Colin and Kaitlin shared must belong to one of them, and so the question is it the one or the other? But from a defense case, all you've got to prove is reasonable doubt. So could it have been somebody else retrieved the weapon from the home? Could it have been, instead of Kaitlin, somebody else? Then surveillance video is actually a third possible way to connect Kaitlin Armstrong to the scene, although it's not possible to see inside the dark tinted windows of the Jeep passing by the residence where Mo Wilson lost her life that night. The question is there additional CCTV footage of a figure stepping out or back into the vehicle? I think from a prosecutorial and even defense case perspective, another interesting thing to consider is there CCTV evidence of Colin Strickland riding his motorcycle to and away from the house? Because if the motorcycle is there, that at least gives his version of events some credibility and makes it a little bit unlikely that he jumped off the motorcycle and into a Jeep, right? The aspect that maybe casts that into some doubt is, on what side of the home did Colin Strickland drop Mo off? Did he drop her on the side where the CCTV cameras were, or on another side where they weren't able to see him? So, speaking of CCTV, Core TV and Inside Edition have reported recently that video surveillance footage has been found showing Kaitlin Armstrong presenting a passport while at Newark Airport. According to records maintained by the Department of Homeland Security, Kaitlin Armstrong presented a passport that was a United States passport in the name of, and they don't say who that was except to say individual number one, and they also say it was passport number one. So they say that was in connection with a departure from America, and obviously that was from Newark Liberty International Airport. Now, although this seems to be big news, I think what likely happened is the cops received a tip-off that Kaitlin was dropped off at the airport. They received that first, and then they followed up. From there, they gave Kaitlin the Jason Bourne treatment. They studied all the days worth of CCTV footage from May 18th, and they started including and excluding people that could be or might be Kaitlin Armstrong. So I don't think they found Kaitlin on the CCTV footage willy-nilly, and I don't think they found her first. The tip came in first. But it will be interesting to know whether when she flew on May 18th, she'd already cut and dyed her hair. I'd be surprised if she didn't. What do you guys think? Then, in additional news that has come out, Kaitlin has been slapped with a misuse of passport charge for flight to Costa Rica. That's another charge that she's been accused of in addition to the charges that she already has. Bear in mind, she's got a court appearance, as far as I know, 11 days from now on the 20th of July. Court TV and Inside Edition have also indicated that a credit card, a vaccine card, and social security card were all found in Kaitlin Armstrong's locker in Don John's hostel, along with the 2 passports and plastic surgery receipt. Now, I think the important question arises again. What credit card is that? Is it her credit card or is it her sister's credit card? Is the vaccine card hers or her sister's? Is the social security card hers or her sister's? What I also found interesting was a particular investigator who said that there was a recent application for a driver's license in New York. One wonders whether that was done to mislead or because Christine would soon be missing certain kind of important documentation, and so possibly she applied for this license or driver's license, whatever it was, while she still had those documents at hand, right, before she perhaps gave some of those away. So I'm not going to take it further than that, but I do want to bring up something that came up in a News Nation episode about a week ago, where News Nation had a former FBI profiler on their show, and this expert was asked if the crime was premeditated, and the expert responded, these are her words, she said, "I would submit that this would take a couple of weeks minimally to plan." And I'll put a link in the description to that episode so you can watch all of it yourself. So do you agree with that assessment? Do you agree that Kaitlin would need a couple of weeks to plan everything that took place? Also, if you were the prosecutor prosecuting this case, would your case be that Kaitlin was triggered into committing a crime, or was it premeditated? What do you think? So first off, I have to say I disagree with News Nation's expert. I don't think Kaitlin ever sat down prior to May 11th and planned the crime and or the escape. I don't think it was as explicit, as straightforward, or as simple as that. I do think Kaitlin, after expressing to someone in January that she wanted to kill Mo, she actually said this. I think she did give it some afterthought. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some daydreaming, some wishful thinking, some unsolicited ideas coming into her head. But I wouldn't go so far as calling any of that premeditation. I mean, who knows, maybe she was. I just don't think so. Instead, I think triggers played a bigger role in the events of May 11th, including from both Mo and Colin's online behaviors, also their pattern of behavior, both of theirs. And this is where the whole love triangle comes into it. The pattern of behavior that had taken place previously, that I think was in play and definitely triggering. It was coming to a head on May 11th. You know, is history going to repeat itself? That's certainly what I think Kaitlin feared. is my boyfriend going to be tempted to see this girl again the same way that he did in the past? And so I think circumstances were in play, but she was also monitoring online behaviors, and that would potentially be triggering. We don't know what she saw, but it would potentially be triggering. The events that were in play on May 11th was, for example, a big race called the Gravel Locos, taking place 3 days later on Saturday, May 14th in Hiko. Hiko is 145 miles due north of Austin, or just over 2 hours by car. Now, this is something that was going to involve her boyfriend, Colin, Kaitlin's boyfriend, Colin, but it was also going to involve Mo, and Mo was actually a favorite to win that particular event. And so this was an event that was going to bring these two people together. And was Kaitlin going to be on the outside of all of this, on the outside of the triangle? So in terms of Kaitlin's escape being premeditated, I don't think that's true either. I think there were elements of travel knowledge in play anyway, but the fact that Kaitlin only sold a vehicle after being confronted by the cops, I think she did it the next day or possibly even the same day, and then only skipping town by plane after selling her car indicates to me a sort of making it up as she went along approach. Then if you look at Kaitlin's behavior in Costa Rica, she didn't make a beeline to Santa Teresa, and she didn't use a single alias or have a job waiting for her. What that shows to me is that there wasn't planning. In addition, if all of this was premeditated, then that would mean her sister, and that would then also include, by definition, Christine's passport, would also have to be part of the premeditated plot, all of which seems to me very unlikely. I do think post-meditation was taking place, where Kaitlin was using elements from her past and her past identity to inform her new life after the incident. Yoga obviously was part of that. Her sister's passport obviously was part of that. And I think the plastic surgery and dyeing her hair was geared specifically to make her look similar to her sister. Have a look at this image. What do you think? So later today, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be, but probably a couple of hours from now, I'll be doing a live stream on the possibility of a mistrial being called in the Amber Heard case, and we'll look at the legalities, the merits surrounding that contention. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.